It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. I'd call it a beautiful Wednesday, even though it feels like Tuesday. Temperature a little cooler than we've experienced most of the summer, and that is a good thing. Let's start in Murfreesboro. Say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
Good, George. How you doing?
Well, I'm good. You brought some issues to the table yesterday for at least part of the show to consider. So let's bring in Billy Derrick, who tells us that he did some research on Opie Taylor. Billy, what did you learn about Opie?
Well, number one, he looks like he's 12 years old. So that, and then number two, he's got orange
like
hair.
You're older? Yeah, he's got orange hair. So do you.
Oh, but that was, I will admit, that was a pretty good comparison. It was pretty funny.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, Billy, you don't think I'm stupid, do you? I mean, I was comparing you for a reason, Hoss.
That was pretty funny. I got a laugh out of that.
So have you made a commitment to actually watch the Andy Griffith show once?
Yeah, I want to watch it now. I might have to watch that tonight. And is Opie is he one of the main characters?
Well, sure he
yeah,
is.
he's the son of the sheriff. I mean, come on, Billy. Figure it out.
The sheriff to him is Paul.
It's Paul.
Billy, channel, if you have Comcast, channel 1044 from 7 to 8 p.m. tonight. Well, make the commitment, find a friend who does, and don't put yourself in the position to be abused by Kelly.
That's my homework tonight. I got it.
Absolutely. It seems like the appropriate time to check in with Terry McCormick for our daily Titans update. Terry, it looked like you were humored by this exercise.
I was, but I was also wondering, wanting Kelly, if Billy reminds you of Opie, who does George remind you of? Is he more Gomer, Goober, or Barney?
Oh, wow. Hey, straight up goober. There's no question.
Oops. Seems like I've taken on some water. Here's some water, but I've taken on more than that. Terry, let me ask you this. The child, Connor.
Yes.
Does he know anything about Opie?
He knows a little bit, and he doesn't watch it much, but he knows a little bit about it. He would know what the Andy Griffith Show is.
Right, and that's what we had hoped for with Billy, but it didn't seem to pan out that way. Thus,
I know what it is.
For those of you who are either listening or watching this is 3 minutes of your life you'll never get back. On to the important stuff. What's going on in Titan land?
Well, the Titans are getting ready to face the Chicago Bears week 1, and today is the first official day of practice in all of that getting ready as they get into their Wednesday, Thursday, Friday routine of getting ready for Sunday's game. So they'll go through, the normal Wednesday stuff, which is, kind of installing the game plan, making sure everybody knows what to do on base downs. And then, of course, Thursday becomes more specialized with third downs and things like that. And then Friday, will be the finishing touches on it as they get ready to make that trip up to Chicago.
Terry, as dull as preseason is, and it's unbelievably dull, and it's hard to read certain things, we got enough of a glimpse of Caleb Williams to just go ahead and say, this guy's going to be special. And I don't think anybody denies that or doubts it. With that in mind, how do they try to defense him? And, can their defensive ends force him to stay in that pocket?
Well, I think the biggest thing that they're going to have is probably try to get pressure up the middle with Simmons and Sweat and those guys, because that may be where they have their best pass rush, with all due props to Harold Landry on the outside and Arden Key. It's all going to start with that push from Simmons and Sweat in the middle to try and make life as uncomfortable as possible for Williams. As good as everybody says he is and can be, remember this, he's still a rookie making his first ever start in the NFL. So he's got a lot to learn and he's got a lot to adjust to. And I think that's what Denard Wilson wants to use to his advantage. Take advantage of his lack of experience right now while you still can, because he has playmaking ability just from the skill that he's been blessed with. And you've got to take advantage that he may not know as much about the mental side of the game and the experience side of the game as he's going to, weeks and months and years down the road.
Here's something I really hadn't thought a lot about. Normally there's a certain level of rookie expectation, but it seems to me that bar got exploded by CJ Stroud.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, he came out, about 3 weeks in, he kind of started to light the world on fire, something that a lot of rookie quarterbacks don't do. And people are projecting Williams to be at least as good as Stroud, maybe better. And so I think the Titans are catching this kid at the right time. It's just a matter of are they cohesive enough in what they want to do and what they need to do in order to outwit him.
Terry, great report as always. I do have a message from Wyatt Langford who said, "Go Rangers."
Oh, that was the last straw with Clay Holmes last night.
My God.
That's got to be it. You can't continue to trot him out there.
2-out grand slam in the ninth, got the Yankees beat. Terry, we'll talk again tomorrow.
All right. Sounds good.
Okay. I happened to see it. Wyatt Langford, Billy went to the University of Florida, right?
Yep. Yes, he did.
Pretty good hitters, done well in Texas.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Broncos have made a big move. We'll get to that. But first, the update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online, mortgageladyyusa.com, or give her a call, 615-969-4350. Patrick Surtain just made a lot of money in Denver. He is, as I try to get this, there we go. Got Lori off the page. We'd love to have her on the page for a while, but Pat Surtain has agreed to a 4-year, $96 million deal. And this is a big deal. $77.5 million in guarantees. He was taken 9th overall by the Broncos back in 2021. The average annual value, $24 million. That's tops for defensive backs in the NFL. So Pat Surtain in Denver making a lot of money. And it's kind of crazy. 4 years, $96 million for a cornerback now. So big money at just about every position now, Kelly.
Well,
it seems like
the receivers are making huge money. So, Kelly, why not the corners?
Well, they're going to make huge money because you can lock guys up man to man. It's the Deion Sanders effect. I mean, if you're good and you can lock people up man to man and they can go play another part of the field and don't have to worry about that guy you're guarding, that's huge. It's like offensive tackles and quarterbacks. Now, running backs, we've all talked about that. It's just not happening. But as a corner, if you're good, you're going to get paid, as you saw.
Yeah.
Well, staying in the AFC South, the Texans are signing Davis Mills to a 1-year extension worth $5 million. He's 25 years old. And to me, guys, similar to what the Titans have. You don't want Levis to go down, but if he does, you've got Mason Rudolph. For the Texans, Davis Mills has come in and played well, and he's their guy right behind Stroud. Now, who knows how much he plays?
He's pretty good. Yeah, he's pretty good.
So Mills getting a little deal there. Also, college basketball, kind of an interesting piece today. Memphis head coach Penny Hardaway announced the firing of 4 staff members today. Assistant coach Rick Stansberry, who coached in the SEC for a while. Faraji Phillips, who was actually at Vanderbilt, longtime high school coach in the Memphis area. So those 2 guys are obviously well respected. A couple other staffers were relieved. Neither Hardaway nor the school provided a reason for the firings. But I looked into their team this year. Guys, they returned just 1 player from last year's team. 7 players transferred out. 8 new Division I transfers in with all that FedEx money.
let me see
Wow.
here. April, May, June, July, August. Really? September? What the hell is that about? I mean, you know, those kids in the dorm are going, what in the hell is he doing? First of all,
Seriously.
you wonder if he was ordered to do it. I don't think that's it. But if this was his timing, it's incredibly foolish. Penny's going to catch hell for this.
How you get 7 guys transferring off? I mean, that seems like some Jerry Stackhouse stuff right there. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the deal with 7 guys moving from Penny Hardaway, who's a Hall of Famer? I mean, what's the deal with all that?
Well, there was all that drama last year, and it feels like it's boiling over a little bit. And it feels like some donors said, hey, this better change or else,
Oh,
you're out of here. I mean, I don't know. That's what it feels like.
Here's the bottom line. He's been there 6 years. He's been to 2 NCAA tournaments. The Memphis fan base believes, with a little bit of reason too, that they ought to be, an Elite Eight, Final Four kind of deal. They've played in 2 NCAA finals in their past, one with Calipari, the other in 73 when Bill Walton went off and went 21 of 22 from the field. The expectations there are brutal. And Penny has not yet done for them what they hoped. And boy, I'll promise you, in the Memphis talk shows, this is going to be priority one.
Well, they've done it 2 times, George, but can they do that? Like, I mean, is that like unrealistic expectations, or is that that's the way those fans feel that they can do that?
Well, whether it's unrealistic or not, that is what that fan base has always believed. Going back to my time there, it's a city that has a lot of different football factions, but they unite behind the Memphis State Tigers. And you notice I use state. Yeah. It's just the way it is down there. And, it is really going to be interesting to see how this plays out long term.
Yeah.
Because some people are really going to question this.
Yeah. Well, they've got a ton of talent. I mean, you bring in 7 D1 transfers. This feels like the year to right the ship, and we'll see if they can. But, George, last night, Whit Merrifield, he became the latest Braves player to get hit by an errant fastball. He blasted the pathetic current state of pitching in the big leagues. He said something terrible is about to happen if the sport doesn't reintroduce repercussions for throwing wildly inside. He said, it's BS. It's driving me nuts. He got hit in the head by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in the Braves win over the Rockies.
Look, I'm a big Whit Merrifield fan way before he was a Brave, but I don't really know what the answer is. He talked about how he's going to have this meeting involving the players union and all this kind of stuff. And I get the fact he didn't want to get hit in the head. I don't blame him. None of us would want to get hit in the head. I just don't know what the solution is. And when we get Danny on tomorrow, we'll certainly talk about it, because I don't know. I don't know what he means by, the repercussions and the answers. There aren't any.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the college baseball thing where, the pitcher's going to eventually get hurt if with these exit velos, and something's got to change. I don't know what it is though. So Chris Sale also, quick note, he makes franchise history with his 2000th strikeout of the season. So
from here on in, you refer to him as Cy Young.
Right.
Because that's the award he's going to win at the end of the year.
What a season he's had.
Oh, thank God. With Spencer Strider going down, man, he has stepped up huge. We're done, correct?
Yep.
Okay, after the break, we're going down to Austin, Texas to talk a little Texas Longhorn football with Chip Brown, who knows Hook'em Horns as well as anybody. Stay tuned. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hey, Saturday morning, you might want to have your television set at 11 in the morning for Texas, Michigan from the Big House. With that in mind, we've asked Chip Brown from horns247.com to join us to talk about it. Chip, thank you for taking the time.
You bet. You bet. What a week.
Oh, my goodness. No kidding. So I would contend that when the SEC eventually goes to 9 conference games, that this kind of great matchup between 2 conferences will go out the window. How did this one happen to begin with?
Well, Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, has the unique situation. He's a huge proponent of the 9 conference games in the SEC because he has the unique situation of the neutral site game with Oklahoma every year, which they alternate the home and visiting team. And so when Texas is the home team, they're out an actual home game in Austin where they, get all the gate and that. So Chris Del Conte, said here in the Big 12 at the time, we need to make sure that we have a great non-conference game to sell the season ticket package. And so it's been, it's Alabama last year, Ohio State next year for home. And then the return trip from Michigan will happen in 2027. this game this week was actually supposed to be in Austin, but as part of the buyout to get out of the Big 12 early and get to the SEC a year early, Fox, to be made whole for Texas and OU leaving, wanted the Michigan game in Ann Arbor this year so that it would be a Fox game. And sure enough, it is the big noon kickoff on Fox. So that's a little subplot to Saturday's game.
So on paper, with Michigan having lost a lot of people, it feels like going in, Texas is the better team. Is that kind of the way you see it?
Well, Texas has the better quarterback. And Barry Switzer always told me in the biggest games, the team with the best quarterback wins them. So we'll see. Michigan's defense is no joke. They lost guys to the NFL from that defense, but Mason Graham, a former high school championship wrestler in that interior defensive line, Kenneth Grant, and no one's talking about Rayshawn Benny, who had 2 tackles for loss and a sack against Fresno State. And that's a Fresno State team with 4 starters back on their offensive line from a 9-4 team a year ago. I mean, that was impressive. Michigan held Fresno to 9 yards rushing on 22 attempts. And Fresno had some success passing the ball. Mikey Keene was 22 of 38. It's interesting, or 22 of 36. Quinn Ewers was 24 of 38 last year against Alabama. If Quinn could have those kind of numbers without the interceptions that Mikey Keene threw, then I think, Texas is going to be able to work their way. Now, obviously, Don Wink Martindale, not the game show host, is known for his zone blitzes, his exotic blitzes. So I'm sure Texas will get the full dose this Saturday.
Chip, when Texas went to Alabama a year ago and won, to me, it signaled a next level of Texas football. We can win anywhere, anytime, any place. Is that kind of the way it's been?
I mean, the players, Steve Sarkisian's done a really good job of building the program. First of all, he didn't know Texas was going to the SEC when he took the job in January of 2021, and he told them, we're going to build this program like an SEC program. Well, that was, big in the trenches, fast on the outside. That was music to the ears of the Texas officials who were interviewing him, because they did know that they were looking to go to the SEC. And Sarkisian and his staff have done a really good job of executing their plan, not only getting bigger in the trenches, but faster on the outside. Texas's team speed is really it's eye-popping at the corners, at the wide receivers, but also at linebacker. Anthony Hill, number 0 for Texas. You'll see him a lot on Saturday. And he also builds the culture. Steve Sarkisian talks about his story, how he lost it all, self-inflicted wounds, going through rehab, and he gets all the players on the team to tell their story to each other, to their coaches. It's what they call Culture Wednesdays during the summer. It sounds hokey, but it works. Dick Tomey, one of the great team builders in college football history, at one point was the winningest coach at Hawaii and Arizona at the same time. He kind of championed this, team sharing and culture building. And so I think it does have more impact, though, because it's Steve Sarkisian saying, look, I was on top of the world and I lost it all. And so I think he's done a really good job of building not only the infrastructure of the team, but also the connection of the team.
By the way, Barry Switzer was right. You got to have a good quarterback. We've got one. Kelly Holcomb, say hello to Chip Brown.
Chip, how you doing, man?
Hey, what's going on?
I'm good. Hey, what are the expectations of this team? I mean, are they thinking national championship? I mean, I was reading an article the other day, and the article that I was reading bounced them over Georgia. I don't know if you can do that just yet, but I mean, Texas is really good. They had a really good year, and Georgia talked about going to Alabama. But what are the expectations from in the organization, fans? What are are they? Is this a national championship deal or bust?
Well, I mean, Steve Sarkisian said he's, quote, borderline obsessed with winning a national championship.
Okay.
And
All
he
right.
has asked his players to be obsessed with the details of winning. And I think they, within the locker room, they see themselves. And look, Texas brought in, some interior defensive line help. Like, they plan on making a run this year. And so, I think this team and Sark has done a good job of getting them to, go step by step. But I think they do see themselves as a team that wants to contend for a national championship.
So, not one game does not make a season, but what happens? I mean, everybody's trying to get into the 12, and this is a tough game. I mean, you're going into Ann Arbor. They won the national championship. They lost a lot of players. We understand that. But, they went into Alabama last year in Tuscaloosa that nobody really has done in years, and they whipped up on Alabama pretty good. And, what happens if they come out with a loss? I mean, one season, one loss does not make a season, but what's next if that does happen?
Yeah, I mean, they gotta bounce back because they get Oklahoma and Georgia back to back in early October. And the Red River Shootout, one of the greatest game day atmospheres you'll ever see in all of sports, with the Cotton Bowl divided at the 50. Any college football junkie listening to this show should absolutely go, whether you love or hate either Texas or OU or both. It's a crazy fun atmosphere. And I think they have enough on their schedule with that stretch there, and the possibility or a chance at least to win a game against Georgia at home, that if Texas can come back from a loss, let's say, to Michigan, then they're still in the picture. And so, I think Steve Sarkisian has not yet addressed that with his team, because the players were asked about that, and they're like, we're not thinking about whether we can get into the 12-team playoff with 2 losses. But I think Texas has some benefit of the doubt, having been in the playoff, having the brand. But look, they got to get it done on the field. And Quinn Ewers came back for a third year as the starter because Steve Sarkisian gave him the metrics that if you start 30 games in college, you tend to have an easier transition to the NFL. Well, this is the game. They're not going to, Georgia's defense might be as good, but Michigan, with Will Johnson back there, really fast linebackers, that defensive line. No one talks about Josiah Stewart, their, defensive end number 0, who had 2 sacks last week. That guy is twitchy as all get out. So I think this is a really good test of where Quinn Ewers is in his development, because he showed everyone he's elite against Alabama. And I think this Michigan defensive line is better than Alabama's. I don't know about the back end and all that. But, Quinn Ewers threw it all over the place against Caleb Downs, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Terrion Arnold. So I think Quinn is looking forward to this opportunity, and let's see how he holds up.
Okay, my last one here, me being a quarterback, and you kind of hit on it right there, Steve Sarkisian. How is he managing that? Because Quinn Ewers is obviously the bona fide starter, but he's got a guy behind him. I played with his uncle a long time ago, a long time ago. But how has he kind of teetered that? Because, in a locker room, sometimes when a guy, like, say he has a bad game or something, seems like he's done a good job. Arch Manning got in last week and played pretty good. But you got a guy sitting in the wings, and it does put pressure on the guy that's starting to say, hey, if I don't play good, like you can have a bad game, but then you have 2 bad games, and then people start talking. How is he managing that?
Yeah, and it'll be more intense if that happens this year. Last year, Arch wasn't ready. This year he's ready. So it's Quinn Ewers. It's that's one thing I really like about Quinn Ewers. He's really self-aware, but he's also got blinders on, and he wants to be. He said, "I didn't go to the NFL because I didn't just want to be a quarterback who was drafted. I want to go into the NFL as a quarterback who can have longevity and have an impact." I think he sees the big picture. Look, iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
Yours, if he has a clunker, yeah, people are going to be like, what about Arch? And so, for Quinn Ewers, he needs to have that year. He needs to have that Jaden Daniels year. He needs to have that Joe Burrow year. I'm not saying throw for 60 touchdowns, but hell, Mac Jones threw for 40 touchdowns and 3 interceptions in 2020. Look, Steve Sarkisian, the way he calls plays, Quinn Ewers is going to have an opportunity to put up a special season here. And this will be a really good test. This will lay the groundwork for what we should see from Texas against Georgia, against Tennessee's vaunted defensive line, against Kentucky's defensive line. So I think this is a real tone setter.
Chip, first of all, thank you on short notice for coming on. Be sure and save me a seat in the press box. Saturday's going to be worth seeing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is I actually grew up in Michigan. My parents were season ticket holders.
Oh, wow.
To the Big House. So I know the atmosphere. I also know that Michigan fans are a little nervous. If things start to go wrong, they get quiet. And so it can be the quietest 111,000 fans if the other team is working it.
I love it. Thank you for coming on with us.
All right, fellas.
Chip Brown joining us to talk University of Texas football from horns247.com. After the break, we'll talk a little more Texas. Who knows? We may do one of those. And what is their impact on the SEC, and a variety of thoughts about the changing world of the Southeastern Conference. You're listening to The George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM. As you might be able to tell, my buddy Stan Harrison, he's an Alabama Crimson Tide fan, but he's actually here to talk about Apple Collision Centers.
Hello, Middle Tennessee. I'm Stan Harrison, CEO of Apple Collision Centers, and we understand the stress it causes in having an automobile accident. We can help you ease the stress of the auto body repair process at our 3 locations. We're conveniently located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. We've got rental cars available, we have PDR technicians available, and we have windshield technicians available. Please stop by one of our places and see us if you need our services.
And by the way, when you come in his office, this just in, he's a sports fan.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back in Hit City for the 2024 season. Spend your nights and weekends at the ballpark with weekly giveaways, fireworks shows, throwback deals, live music, and more. Top talent will take the field at First Horizon Park against the AAA Minnesota Twins, Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds, and more. Tickets start at just $10 and are available now at NashvilleSounds.com. We will see you in Hit City.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you need to contact Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you are a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. Check them out today at pancoastbenefits.com or call 615-292-3400.
We are back on this Wednesday afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Okay, let's talk a little Texas, and let me get all three of us, into this one. This is just my belief. A year ago, Texas loved the fact that they sent a warning shot, a shot across the bow, if you will, to the SEC when they went to Alabama and smoked them. Won by double digits and kind of said, we're not taking a back seat to anybody. And when you go to Alabama and win, suddenly you back that up. Now they're going into the big house to play the defending national champions, who admittedly may not be as good as they were a year ago, but they're darn good. And I think Texas is dying to send the SEC another little missile to say, we're on top and we're going to prove it. What do y'all think?
I think you're correct in that, George, but it's going to be tough. I mean, anytime you go to the big house, I mean, I think that what he talked about with Quinn Ewers being the better quarterback, I think that matters. With him losing J.J. McCarthy, I think that matters, and I think that's going to be a huge deal in the game. But it is a tough place to play. It's on the road. It's a big stadium. It's a loud stadium. It's going to be the first time that these guys have been tested. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think Texas has got a really good D-line. They're a good football team, George. They got the kid from Alabama, the receiver. Got another kid, I forget where he's from at receiver. But Steve Sarkisian is bringing guys in, and that's what he wants. And that's, Chip talked about that. That's when he went into the interview process. He said, we're going to build this like an SEC team. And that's what made those guys, that kind of put him over the edge. I will say this, though. I think Texas is, they're kind of on the rise. But still, what Chris Doering said a couple of months ago when he was at the SEC Media Days, like Oklahoma beat them last year, and Oklahoma's kind of ran that whole, that deal where the Red River rivalry, they've kind of run that deal here of late. And I don't know. I mean, it's. I was going to ask him too what the fans and everybody thought about Texas coming in the SEC, because you're in the Big 12 and it's not as hard of a road as it is in the SEC. Now I know they want to go to the big conference, but still, if you're trying to win national championships, you look at the business side of it. Does the business side of it mean that you're going to be better off in the SEC or staying in the Big 12? Now, maybe in the SEC you get better recruits. Maybe that's a huge. There's so many positives, but there are also some negatives because of those stretch of games that you've talked about, George, with Texas, that they're going to have to go through, that everybody in the SEC is going to have to go through. It's like an NFL schedule for 3 or 4 or 5 games sometimes. So, I don't know. I'm just interested to see how all this plays out, man. It's going to be the second game of the season, and it's not a pushover because they're the defending national champions.
Yeah, I know Michigan's at home, but I don't want to be playing Texas and Quinn Ewers in week 2. And Michigan does have a good defense, a good D-line, but we've talked about it. Today's era, offense wins. You got to have a great quarterback. Who's Michigan's quarterback? I don't know that anyone knows Michigan's quarterback or if he's any good. So can Michigan score? Can they put up enough points to keep up with Texas? But it's also, it's on the road, but Texas is physical as well. I know they lost a couple of defensive linemen, but what they did to Alabama in Tuscaloosa last year, I think, is a good sign that they are physical. They can be physical, and they're not going to be pushed around by Michigan. So I think Michigan struggles big time in this matchup. I just don't see that offense, George, being able to keep up with Texas at all. Is the line 6.5 still?
Yeah, something 6.5, 7.
I mean, I'm all the
somewhere in there.
way. I'm all Texas on that. I think they could win by 2 scores. Michigan, I could see them mucking the game up a little bit, but I'm on Texas here.
Okay, hold
George,
on.
George, can I ask
Go
y'all
ahead.
a question?
Sure.
What did y'all think about the question that I asked about the quarterbacks? Because that's a real deal now.
Oh, it's
I mean,
a
I've
big
been in
deal.
I've been in that situation right there, and I'm not sure that Quinn Ewers probably feels that right now. But I promise you this: if he has a bad game, he's going to
He
start
will.
feeling it. I mean, that's just human nature, and you're going to have people around you and fans on Instagram and X and all this talking about you. I mean, how does that play into this? Because that's huge. If you start and you're not as good as you maybe thought you were going into this thing.
Well, first of all, Quinn Ewers is an elite thrower.
Yeah.
He is a statue. And if I'm Michigan, I am blitzing everything I have got early, including the big house. Just send the stadium, because Quinn Ewers is a statue. He has no mobility, and no amount of staying in college is going to improve that mobility. That is, in my way of thinking, Michigan's only chance to muck it up is to get him a little rattled, force him to move around, force him to scramble, force him to use wheels that I don't deep down think are there.
Yeah,
Now, I will say this:
yeah.
the Martindale guy is going to bring pressure. Now,
Oh,
that's his MO.
absolutely.
I love it. I mean, he would put his guys on islands, and sometimes maybe it wasn't as sound as you want to be, but like he's gonna make you make decisions as a quarterback, and he's gonna hit you, because if he can't, he's gonna start bringing the big house. He's going to bring everybody, because if you start hitting a quarterback and you can make him think about that stuff, that presents a whole new issue, and it's a different game.
This is the first test, I feel like, for Texas. If Ewers gets hit a couple of times, maybe fumbles or throws a pick early, Michigan takes the momentum. Do you put Arch in? I mean, I think that's
No, I don't
because
know.
here's the deal: you're opening up a can right there. That's why I'm getting at. If you do that, it's one of those deals where if you do that, you're making the decision right now, and you're kind of stuck with that decision.
Which is so, George, you mentioned this. Like, is Arch going to Ole Miss? Is he staying at Texas? It makes you surprised that he stayed at Texas a little bit. Like, he's really going to sit.
Here's the only thing I can think is that one of those J.R. Ewing wannabes met him at the 50-yard line at the Cotton Bowl. There's a great scene in Dallas where J.R. Ewing flies in on a helicopter to midfield of Old Texas Stadium. So I can see some deal where some oil baron gets out with a hat that's up to here, and he's doing this. And then he throws this big bag of money at Arch and says, by the way, there's $5 million in there. What do you think about staying another year?
But it's the only team in the country, guys, and we all know his name. We all know who he is. We know where he's come from, but it's the only team in the country that when you talk about Quinn Ewers, you automatically say Arch Manning. It's the only team. Like, that's the only. Everybody knows who he is because of his name. Now, he looked pretty good last week. I will say Chip said that he wasn't ready last year, but he's ready now. So I don't know, man. This could end up great, and he could not see any action, but it could turn out where it gets turned on a dime and something happens, and then he's playing. I don't know. It's just when you have a situation like that, it's very. I think Sark has done a really good job about that, saying Quinn Ewers is a starter, and he is. But like, if something starts happening and going wrong, I mean, we'll see.
That's just weird. Like, so y'all are saying the only way he goes in is due to injury
right now? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unless the dude throws 4 or 5 interceptions, and then we got to think about it. So, you know what I'm saying? We got to think about something now.
Because
he hasn't done that in his past. Yeah.
Because once you do it, all hell breaks loose.
Yes. And you've made a decision.
So let me ask one more, and y'all know this is true. So Texas comes into the league, and it was a mixed reaction. The athletic director at A&M at the time, who didn't know it had happened, said Texas will get in over my dead body. Well, this just in, that athletic director is now the AD at Ohio State. There has been this undercurrent of, by God, Texas isn't running this ship. We're going to let them know early. They are not going to run this league.
Okay.
Nick Saban sort of said it. How pissed off do you think the whole Texas thing is? Because they've been hearing it.
I think they might this year. I mean, they've got just as much talent as Georgia, just as much talent as Alabama. You could argue they've got the best quarterback. I mean, I know, and it's going to be hard, but Texas could very well be the best team in the country and the best team in the conference. Like, I think some of the people, even the Nick Sabans need to take a look and realize how good Texas is. And, maybe I'm totally wrong on that, but Texas is an SEC type team. And I think people need to realize that.
I think they've got a lot of staying power too because of this.
Yes.
They've got loads of it. Like George talks about young J.R. Ewings. They've got a lot of it, and they can go out and they can get players. So can Oklahoma. So I think it's going to be I think it's unbelievably two great programs coming in that are blue bloods, but I think they have staying power as well. I mean, I really do, because they've got money and they've won a lot of games. They've won a lot of national championships. They've had a lot of Heisman Trophy guys. Oklahoma has. So I just think they have the staying power. I don't know if they're going to rule it, but Texas is pretty good this year, and they've got a quarterback.
My guess, guys, is that Sark at some point this week, and it might be Friday night, his group is hearing all this, the big house, Michigan. They're going to blitz you from everywhere, defending national champion. My guess is Sark is going to run a tape of the Alabama game a year ago and say to them, take a look at this. You were good enough to go in there and be the better team, and nobody questioned it when it was over. You were the better team, and you'll be the better team Saturday. I predict that's coming.
I think they are the better team, and I think they will win the game, but you never know when you're on the road at a Big Ten opponent like that that's really good, that won the national championship last year. There's a lot of things that can happen. So that's what makes ball, that's what makes what we do right here intriguing, because you never actually truly know, and guys have to make plays. Coaches can put them in positions. That's what I told a coach not too long ago. I'm like, the hay's in the barn, man. You've put them in position. Now they've got to go play. You can't babysit them all the time. They've got to go play on the field. You can call plays and you can do all this and do all that and have a good game plan, but they have to execute the game plan. And sometimes they do, but sometimes guys, they don't.
Billy got 45 seconds. Go.
Riley Leonard at Notre Dame did the same thing I think Texas is about to do to Michigan, to A&M. It was all the talk was about College Station, Kyle Field. It's going to be hot. Leonard's going to be pressured and sacked by those defensive line. Well, Notre Dame went in there and bullied them in the fourth quarter and ran the ball all over them. I could see Texas doing. I know they got some running backs hurt, but I think by the late third, fourth quarter, Texas is all over Michigan.
And I was behind them every step of the way, as proven by my silly underdog pick. Okay, we're done. We'll go to the break. And then stat of the day is coming up. Am I right? We're 0 for 1 this week.
No, you got it.
No, yesterday. You got it yesterday.
Oh, that's
Notre
right.
Notre Dame.
Well, the Notre Dame. Continued excellence. When we come back, you're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
If you're having plumbing issues, there's only one guy to call. That's Adam Whitehead. As a third-generation plumber, Adam was born and raised right here in Bellevue. Customers praise his professionalism, efficiency, and personability. Adam is known for his prompt response to emergencies and for providing high-quality repairs at reasonable prices. His expertise extends to various plumbing issues, including sink leaks, dishwasher installations, and outdoor water issues. Call him at 615-485-1534. That's 615-485-1534.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Welcome back in. Wrapping up this first hour on a Wednesday with Stat of the Day, brought to you by Adam Whitehead Plumbing. You can find him in Bellevue, 8076 Sawyer Brown Road. Call him, 615-485-1534. Again, that's 615-485-1534. All right, let's see what we got today. We're going baseball. Pete Alonso, who homered last night, ranks third for most home runs in Mets history with 223. Can you name the player who has the most?
Okay, Kelly, let's think about Mets history for a minute. Obviously, there's a Darryl Strawberry, there's a Hojo, Howard Johnson.
Yeah. Mike Piazza, would he be in there?
Mike Piazza was a Dodger for too long. Now,
Okay.
that said, I don't know if they're including Dodger homers in that thing or not.
No, it's Mets.
It's totally
Okay.
with the Mets.
All right.
Okay. I'm going to say, Kelly, that it's either Hojo or Strawberry. And given my gut feeling is it's Howard Johnson. Now,
Yeah,
it
my
sounds
gut,
like
my gut was Darryl Strawberry, but I don't know.
It's one of the two. Strawberry would have had to have had 6 years of almost 40 homers. It's one of the two. Let's put it on the board.
Darryl Strawberry.
Boom. Attaboy Kelly.
Yeah.
You know what
I
this
thought
is
so.
saying, Kelly? Let me tell you what
2-0.
this is saying.
Commitment to excellence is what it's saying.
Well, it is a commitment to excellence. You're absolutely right.
I don't think this is the first time y'all started a week 2-0. I'll say I think that's almost
Nice.
a sure thing.
Billy, I have one word for you. Opie.
I have two, Billy. Grow up.
He's got orange hair.
And then beat it.
I'll be on Broadway tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Darryl Strawberry played minor league baseball with Trevecca's athletic director, Mark Elliott.
Oh wow.
How about that little nugget?
Wow.
That was some good times in Mets Nation with him and
oh my
Dwight
goodness.
Gooden, man. That was awesome.
Well, you had Keith Hernandez,
yeah.
Wally Backman, Kevin Elster, Howard Johnson, George Foster, Mookie Wilson, Lenny
Mookie Wilson.
Dykstra.
That's right. Yeah.
Strawberry, Gary Carter. The Mets were loaded in the late 80s, won it all in 86, and that was the only time that they won it in that run. Anyway,
yeah, that was the deal with the first baseman for the Red Sox, Buckner. Was that Buckner? Yeah,
Bill Buckner.
Yeah, that was Bill Buckner. Wow.
Okay, hour number 1 is done. When we come back, our little State of the Union of your Tennessee Titans. You're going to want to hear it. Stick around. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
back.
Okay, we welcome all of you into hour number 2 of the show. As we promised you earlier, we're going to get into a little bit of a State of the Union of the Tennessee Titans, 4 days from their season opener in Chicago against the Bears, who look to be considerably improved. Guys, here's where I want to start this. Okay, front office has had a really good year, and they should have. They had more money to deal with in in cap space, and so not only did they have a good year, they should have had a good year. They've made a lot of moves that, to me, make a lot of sense. But there is this lingering feeling that I don't share about Will Levis. I'm convinced Will Levis is going to be just fine if his offensive line gives him half a chance. I think Will Levis is good enough. But I appear to be in the minority. There appears to be this cloud, and I don't know what the cloud is. Kelly, when you talk about him, most of the time it's mechanical, elbow position. But I sense that there's more than that going on with other people. For some, it may well be that his name isn't Hendon Hooker, which is, to be honest, what a big chunk of the fan base wanted the day the pick was made. I want y'all to talk to me about why there is so much pessimism around Will Levis.
There's always going to be pessimism around, fans. That's just, they get to buy their tickets. They get to, say what they mean. And if they want to talk about somebody, they can. I'm not sold on it
Kelly,
yet, George.
Hold on, because you hear it not only from fans, but you hear it from anonymous front office executive types.
I don't know, George. I really don't. I mean, there was a reason that he moved down. I don't know. Maybe it was because of his history at Kentucky with being injured. I think he played through a lot of injuries. I don't know. Maybe it was mechanics. Maybe the coach that was at a certain organization or another team didn't like what they saw. I don't know. Just you've seen that deal with Kevin Costner in the movie Draft Day. I mean, that's a little outlandish, but they're going to find out things about you, and they're going to find out things about you through people that are around you. They do background checks on everybody. I don't know, man. I just like what I've seen so far. Now, I'm not ready to give him the keys to the Cadillac just yet. I mean, he's got them, but he's still got to show me some things. But in preseason, and it is preseason, I just liked his demeanor. I didn't think he got as emotional as he normally is. As a quarterback, you can't be emotional. You have to be a rah-rah guy sometimes, but you have to be kind of even keel. You can't get too high and too low because you're going to have some bad games. You're going to have some okay games, and then you're going to have some really good games. But you have to have an even keel. And from what I saw in that very first preseason game when he was relaxed, he was sitting over there, it just felt like a different guy to me. It really did. And I think that they've worked on his mechanics. They've had a long time to do that, but I think they worked on his mechanics. They've worked on his elbow. He looks more comfortable. He looks comfortable in the pocket. Now, real shots have not been fired at him just yet. I mean, that's coming up this week. They got to go to Chicago, so that's coming up this week. So we'll see how all that goes. I'm not sold on it just yet, George. I'm not, because I know how hard it is. And I say this every time we talk about this, but I know how hard it is to play quarterback in this league. And I know all the pressures other than quarterback. The media, being on ESPN, being on SportsCenter, having to go do events on a Tuesday or having to go do things. You try to put that in the background, but that's part of being an NFL guy. And these guys are getting paid so much money. That's part of your contract. You have to do community stuff during the week. You would love just to concentrate on football because that's what it's about, the majority of it. But there are some little things you gotta get tickets for family on Thursdays and you got to do stuff like that, just stupid stuff. So I know how hard it is. It all depends on him, though, because I think they put a really good team around him. I think offensive line-wise, we were worried about that. If they can keep those guys healthy, I think it's satisfiable. I really do. But they don't have much depth, as Terry's talked about. So
Hold
if
on to the
guys start,
offensive line stuff because we'll get to that in a minute.
okay, but they got Calvin Ridley. If they get when DeAndre Hopkins comes back, they got two really good receivers. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a Hall of Famer more than likely. Calvin Ridley's got unbelievable talent. Tyler Boyd they've brought in. They still got Traylon Burks. They've still got the Nick Westbrook-Akine kid. They've got guys that can make plays. They've helped him out in the backfield with Tony Pollard. I was really impressed with Tony Pollard this preseason. I really was. I've seen him. We've all seen him in Dallas. But with his quickness and the way he's patient and he can hit a hole really quick, and Tyjae Spears is the same type of guy. And then they kept Julius Chestnut. So I think they've got some really good running backs. Tight end, they like the Josh Wiley kid. I think it's all on him, George. I'm like those other guys. I'm kind of skeptical right now. You got to prove it. And the NFL and professional sports is the ultimate proving ground because we can do it during the week, but if you don't do it on Thursdays and Saturdays and Sundays when you play, it doesn't matter. If you do it during the week and you look good on paper, if you can't do it when the lights come on, what good are you? So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of skeptical right now, but I think that I like what I saw in the offseason and this preseason. I think he's calmed down. I think he's become that guy that they want. Now let's see if it happens on the field.
It is going to be all on him, and that's why I'm slightly worried because he's still a young player. He's unproven. He had his moments last year. He was really good at times last year. Threw 4 touchdowns in his NFL debut. That's pretty good. But still, this is your prove it year, and he's got everything around him just about. Now, the offensive line still has to get better, but you mentioned the receivers, Kelly. That's why I worry slightly. In his mind, being still a young quarterback, man, this is all on me. I've got a great offensive coach now. We bolstered our offensive line a little bit. We really bolstered our receiving core. Now it's on me. Last year it was, okay, we don't have playoff aspirations. I just need to show what I can do. Now he needs to take that next step. So he's got the arm strength. We all know that. But does he have all the mental makeup? Can he stay healthy? Can he be smart enough to stay healthy? Staying healthy for 17 games, Kelly, you know how hard that is. Like, he can't go try to make a tackle in the red zone on a pick 6. Like, he's going to have to be smart. But they do have everything around him, George. And in a weird way, it almost worries me with a young quarterback because we don't know if he's a CJ Stroud. We don't know if he can do what Trevor Lawrence has done in Jacksonville. We all think and want that because we've seen some glimpses of it. But this is the year. I mean, this is the year he's got to prove it.
This is an instant gratification society. We want everything now. We talk about, Comcast going out and we're telling George to go get Hulu or Fubo or, go get DirecTV Stream or something like that. It's an instant gratification. And there's no instant gratification about being a good quarterback. There's not many guys coming in like Joe Burrow who takes his team, to an AFC championship in his second year and takes them to the Super Bowl and then another AFC champ. That's kind of unheard of. So he's going to have some growing pains. He's going to do good and then he's going to look really bad. Now, are we patient enough as fans, as guys around him to be patient and to say, hey, you've got to learn. The experience is the best teacher, and he's going to get out there and make mistakes. But are we going to, hey, we got to get rid of him? It's got to be patient. And Nick Saban said that the other day on College Game Day, talking about coaches. He was actually talking about Mario Cristobal, who worked for him, and he was talking about Billy Napier, and he was talking about how 3 years sometimes don't get it done. I mean, you need more time, and there's no patience in our society anymore, and that goes with quarterbacks. I mean, just look at Steve McNair. Steve McNair got to settle a little bit, and then he came on the scene, and then he took the Tennessee Titans to a whole different level. But our society right now with instant stuff, with social media, they want it now. And sometimes it doesn't happen with quarterbacks that way. It takes time to grow and to learn, and you have to learn being on the field, and you have to make mistakes to learn from those mistakes. So I just hope people give him an opportunity if we do have a couple of bad games in a row to say, hey, this is our guy, let's stick with him.
Okay, let me ask this question. When he took over last year, and I don't remember what week it was, but it was against Atlanta. Okay, instant success.
Yeah.
Long ball suddenly gets into their offense, which we hadn't seen. It'd been the dark ages since we saw, a 40-yard plus completion. Okay. He also engineers a massive comeback against the Miami Dolphins when the Dolphins are trying to get in the playoffs. They go down to whatever they call it now. It used to be Joe Robbie Stadium. Hard Rock, thank you. MGM Grand, the Bellagio, whatever the hell it is. My point is, what is it he didn't do a year ago that has so many people so down on him?
I don't know that it's so many people so down on him. It's just you want to see more, at least from a little bit more. I mean, I don't think it's what you didn't see. It's just let's keep seeing it. At least,
but do we remember the level of injury depleted that he walked into?
It wasn't good, but he's got to be able to stay on the field too, George. He can't do things. He can't try to tackle a defensive lineman when he gets a pick on the 1 yard line. That you're not going to stop that guy. That guy's 340 pounds. Let him go. You can't do things like that. You got to get that. This is, people are counting on you now. You're a franchise guy. That's what they wanted. And you have to take care of yourself because those guys are coming after you. And when you take off, you can't take the competitiveness. We talked about that with Diego Pavia yesterday. You can't take that competitiveness away from him, but you have to be smart about stuff like that. And you've got to be able to stay on the field. Now he's a tough kid because he played hurt when he was at Kentucky his senior year, but you have to be able to stay on the field, and that's what they're expecting. That's what the fans are expecting. That's what your teammates are expecting.
Is that a skill, Kelly, or some guys, like if a guy keeps getting hurt week in, week out, or year in, year out, is he to blame? Like, I know every case is different, but is it a skill to know how to keep yourself healthy?
I don't know if it's a skill or whether it's who you are. I was talking this same thing with a friend of mine yesterday because I had a tight end in Cleveland that he was like that. You've seen that Plinko off The Price is Right where it just goes everywhere. Like he used to get hammered, man. You would throw him the ball and all 11 dudes on defense would hit him and he would still keep going and he would get injured. And then you got other guys like Marvin Harrison who wasn't going to take a hit, but he protected himself. And then Marshall Faulk. Marshall was unbelievable with that stuff. Like he could elude tacklers. Now it has a lot to do with athleticism too. I mean, some of those guys like a Calvin Ridley, you saw some of the, that little drag route that he caught and made people miss. And you don't like people going east and west or sideways. You like him to get upfield, but his speed and his athleticism can get him out of certain situations. And I think it's an awareness too as a quarterback. You have to know that when you come out of the pocket, those defensive linemen that are 350 pounds are still running after you. So I always go back to the Joe Montana. You remember when Jim Burt or the Leonard guy that hit him for the New York Giants and almost decapitated him, George? You remember that when he tried to pull up? You can't do stuff like that. You have to have your head on a swivel because those guys are coming and they're fast. So I think there's a learning gap in there as well. I think it's the person. Like I said, my tight end used to get tore up, and other guys I played with never got hit hard. So I think it's just it's a personality trait. It's a deal that's within you that understands, hey, there's things going on, and I need to be aware of it around me. And some guys have it, and some guys don't. And I'm remaining to see if he's got that in him.
Okay, let me try this one. Earlier, I said that the front office, Rand Carthon, made a lot of moves that feel like the right stuff. And he had the money to be able to do that. There is a nagging feeling on my end that he's one piece short. He got a lot of weapons for Will Levis, but did he do enough in the offensive line? What do y'all say?
Well, you get J.C. Latham 7th overall. We think he's a really good player. You bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, Sadiq Charles, but he's not even playing. He's not playing, right, George? Charles?
Right.
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I mean, they did a good job. Like Sadiq
which
Charles
did not help them.
Right.
No.
So that didn't help. And you can't blame, I don't think you can blame
No.
Carthon for that. And he would have helped. The question is, can Bill Callahan do enough with Petit Frere and Radens? Because Petit Frere was a talented player coming out of Ohio State, never developed. Same thing with Dylan Radens. That's the question. And usually coaches, we talked about it with Vandy. Jerry Kill and Tim Beck, how much they improved certain players within that offense that looked like they were non-factors the last couple of years. Can Bill Callahan do that with Petit Frere and Radens? It looks like Skoronsky is back playing better, but that's still a question. I mean, that has not been answered. And if that right side is not answered, and if it stays the way it was last year, it's hard for me to believe Will Levis stays 100% healthy. I mean, this is the NFL.
Yeah, just because you've got all that money in the salary cap, George, there's only so much you can do, and they were depleted in so many areas. I mean, you've got to put first things first. You got to get some weapons, and they did. They got some weapons. They drafted J.C. Latham, as Billy talked about. I think the Petit Frere guy could. I mean, I think he's the guy, but he's got to stay on the field. I mean, he's got to be consistent. He's got to stay healthy. Radens, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, but I know they weren't playing anybody in the New Orleans games, but they gave him time, and I think that they're heading that way. But that's your starting five. Can you keep them healthy? Because there's not much depth back there. I'm going to be honest with you. So you can only do so much with what you got, and this might be a deal where, hey, they've got the power outside with receivers and with running backs. They like their tight ends. But it might be a deal where, hey, we just got to do what we can do and maybe get through this season and then go out and get some more offensive linemen. If you get your skill guys right and everybody on the defense, which I think they've done a really good job, now you can concentrate on what you really need to concentrate on, and that's the right side of the offensive line.
How close is Traylon Burks to being a bust?
Very close.
I think close, man. He's just – I don't know. You got to be on the field, George. You really do. I don't know. I hadn't seen anything because he don't stay on the field. So he's close. That happens, and it sucks too because I've been around guys that just couldn't get right. And I had a really good defensive lineman that I've told y'all before. I'm not going to say his name, but he was a great guy, But I mean, he was so big, he looked like a dadgum receiver when he took his shirt off. And I firmly believe this. Like, he's like a Javon Curse, man. Those guys are so big and their muscles are so strong that they pull their tendons from their bones. It was unbelievable because he couldn't stay healthy. And you get guys like that are freakish and they can't stay healthy. And he was an unbelievable guy, but I don't know. You just never know.
Billy, you looked like you wanted to handle the other question, and I didn't let you.
Are you talking offensive line?
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, I was just going to add on to what Kelly said about Traylon Burks. I mean, I was excited about him coming out of Arkansas. I mean, you saw what he could do at the SEC, but when you're not healthy, he hasn't really, has he gotten better? Has he had enough time to get better? And so, but I think he's actually close to being good. I mean, like within this is an opportunity for him, you would think, to step into he could be the fourth guy. Traylon Burks is your fourth guy, but you just haven't seen it. And until we do, I don't know that we think anybody thinks he can. But
what if he's not your fourth? What if it turns out that Nick Westbrook-Akine is truly the 4 and Burks is your 5?
It's probably time to cut bait.
Which I kind of think that's where it is because the Westbrook-Akine kid makes plays and he's reliable. He's on the field. I mean, that's he made some catches but I think he's right in the middle. I think he could be a bust or he could be good. But you can't make everybody says you can't make the club in the tub. Well, he's made the club in the tub because he was a high draft pick. But I mean it's coming time where you got to fish or cut bait.
Step up to the licking block.
That's right.
Well,
step up to the licking block, son.
I'm laughing because my friend, the late Frank Wycheck, used to give me You can't make the club in the tub. That was the first time I had ever heard that.
Dang, man.
But I mean, it's true.
It is
We know
true.
it's
It's
true.
so true.
So we've spent a ton of time on the offense. Let's just do a couple of minutes on the defensive end. Is it the linebacker position y'all are most worried about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that. I don't know how much you can trust Jack Gibbons and is it Kenneth Walker? I think was probably that other backer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that Jack Gibbons is a solid player, but you've also got a new defensive coordinator, and that's not a concern of mine. I'm not saying that, but I mean, that Titans defense last year, I mean, you can only judge off what you saw last year. They lost a lot of big players. They lost Danico Autry, Azeez Al-Shaair, who I really liked, Monty Rice, Murphy Bunning, and Christian Fulton are out. So this is like, well, we're bringing in whole new skill players. This is like a portal exodus. You know, you just don't know. You've got a good coordinator. L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie are great corners. But and Cedric Gray, I think, is banged up right now as well, like Terry has talked about. You know, Tavondre Sweat comes in from Texas. You've got some young pieces there, but Kelly, I'm worried about this defense a little bit.
Kelly, give me 45 seconds and we'll take this up deeper later in the week.
You know what? I'm not. I'm really not. I think that I don't think Jack Gibbons, he's not starting anymore, is he? Ernest Jones came in from the LA Rams, which led the team in tackles out there.
Right.
So I think Ernest Jones is huge for those guys. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Tavondre Sweat is going to dominate the inside of the line, and it's going to help Jeffrey Simmons so much. And I think they're going to get I don't think anybody's going to be able to run on them. I really don't. I think they're going to gobble up blockers, and I think Arden Key and Harold Land, I think all those guys, I think their defense is going to be astoundingly better than it was last year. They've got, I don't know about Jamal Adams. I don't know how he fits into this equation. They got two new safeties. They got two new corners. I think they're going to be really good.
After the break, we'll be joined by Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. Stay tuned. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Year number 2 of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night was awesome. And the reason is really simple. I chose Strike and Spare, and they were amazing. They have great food, great bowling, and a staff that is truly ready to go the extra mile to help you. They have 5 family fun centers in the area to choose from. And for more info, go to strikeandspare.com or call them at 615-824-5688. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
No,
As
but
the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donley Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donley have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonleyTimmons.com.
Okay, we are back, and we will be joined in just a matter of seconds by Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee. And Billy, help me here. Does it look like Clark can hear?
He's on.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm getting the thumbs up from him. Okay, let's bring him in here. Clark, first of all, congratulations on Saturday.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that was a fun way to start the season.
So you get to experience it in the locker room. Those of us who watched it from upstairs don't really get the feel you get. What was it like when you all walked in after it was over? Because this was not just any win.
Oh, it was, well, first of all, it took a long time to get in there. There was more time on the field than normal, but all for good reason. And by the time I got in there, the majority of the team was in there, and I think they had music on, and they were having fun. And they reined me in there to the middle of that. Then we reined Jerry in, and that had to do with the meeting we had in fall camp about, dancing after we beat Virginia Tech. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, obviously there's a lot of emotion in those moments. I don't know that words can describe just the feeling of camaraderie and connection and excitement, and just being able to share hugs, tell each other we love each other. I mean, it's just that was a special time. That's a memory, and that will be one that'll stay with me forever.
A year ago, when Conference USA would have all these Tuesday night games, I started babbling to these guys about there's this guy out there named Diego Pavia. I don't know a damn thing about him, but he's really good. Okay, now everybody got to see some of what I saw on those Tuesday nights Saturday. And Clark, obviously, this was a critical game where he carried it 26 times. In the future, how often can you let him carry the football? Because keeping him healthy feels so vital to what you're going to try to do.
Well, yes. And, I don't think that we get where we want to go putting limitations on him. So there's a little bit of we've got to let him play his game. We got to teach him moments where he can be smart and maybe not take a hit or, choose to go out of bounds or choose to get down on the ground. But, I don't think that limiting his ability to be a playmaker and to put the game on his back and to let him carry the ball, and that stuff's a part of who he is, and it's a part of what makes him good and makes him hard to defend. So certainly want him to be smart, but also, we want to win, and doesn't matter who we're playing against. When he's doing those things, it gives us the best chance to win. I think, for the other guys in that room to be prepared, and to know that this is a physical game and it's a physical league, but we're going to let Diego play his style because that's the style that's going to help us be the best team we can be.
Let him know somebody was watching those Tuesday night games.
No,
Kelly, say hello to Clark Lee, and then we'll get Billy in here in a minute.
Coach, hey, congratulations, obviously.
Thanks.
Congrats. Hey, I was just thinking about that. Just what Diego Pavia did the other day, other than win he's running around doing his thing. But like, you know, this is a kid right here that's probably 5'10", 5'11", been told that he's not good enough. That's kind of where I came from. I mean, I was this skinny 6 foot, you know, nothing, and had, you know, nobody told me that I could. Everybody told me you weren't going to make it. But like, what kind of belief the other day did that young man bring to your football team? I mean, I know that you guys have seen it in fall camp, and you know where he is, but like, belief is a huge thing with your teammates. And the other day when y'all got down, I think it's, you know, George had a stat of, you know, y'all go down in 7 points in the fourth quarter, and it's not a good one. But, you know, what the belief that your team has in him right now at this point?
Yeah, I think so much of that statistic, and God, the it's just the mindset around, you know, this program. And, you know, part of that, obviously, I like, you know, I'm not trying to deflect. I mean, this has been the fight, right? The fight is changing the mentality of the program. And I think when you're surrounded by naysayers or negativity, it's just a day in, day out fight to keep, you know, again, the mentality clean. And what I want these kids to understand is they have the control, that it's in their hands. And no good team has ever gone through the season without taking on water at some point and facing adversity. So to see them stare that down and you know, really, you know, bounce back and finish the game off was one of the coolest moments in my time here. Now, could it have been easier for us? Certainly. And we're going to try to find ways to be more consistent through the game. But as far as your comment on Diego, it's interesting that I don't always have a great feel for how teammates view teammates. You know, you just, you know, I tend to see the player, and I don't always see, you know, the person with respect to how they interact, engage in the locker room, or what's said in the corners of the locker room, or how people are perceived. And, you know, that can be a good thing and that can be a bad thing. I mean, I know it came to my attention this summer that, you know, a player made mention to another coach, just this idea that, like, you know, we know that we'll never be out of a game with Diego at quarterback. Like he said it. And to follow that up, he said, we haven't had that. And certainly we did not have that a year ago, where it was this like unyielding belief in that person. And you know, that has, you know, some to do with Diego's history of success. It has some to do with his practice performance. But I mean, even that, you know, what makes him special is when he's live, and you know, we don't see that in practice. I mean, those plays are blown dead. So what I'm speaking to now is just the personality, the consistency, the command, the respect that he commands, the way he treats and loves his teammates, the time he shares with them at his house or in the corners of the building. He has a charisma about him, and it's understated. It's not something where he's trying to, you know, be the, you know, team spokesperson. He's very genuine and authentic to himself, and he's very, very competitive. It's not, you know, some people say they're very competitive as an excuse for them to fly off the handle when things aren't going their way. Like, this guy has a real presence and process about him, and a real maturity and wisdom when it comes to the competitive moment. And those roots took hold in the summer. And, you know, certainly they were needed on Saturday, but it was not a surprise to us. Yeah, I mean, it's fun to experience that for sure.
Coach, defensively in the first half, it was really impressive what you guys were able to do against Kyron Drones and that running game. We talked about it all week. It's third quarter, that's when things opened up a little bit. It looked like on some blitz plays, Drones was able to find a receiver deep a couple of times. Ended up finishing out there late in the fourth quarter with a couple of sacks. But specifically in that third quarter, what did you notice defensively, and what are some things that you guys are looking to clean up?
Well, there are execution elements that you're speaking of, and we let them off the hook a couple of times on third downs. One early, you know, we were able to get them behind the chains, and just I think the first third down of the second half, I believe, was maybe one of the blitzes that you speak of. The blitz pattern was open. I mean, we had an unblocked player running. It was C.J. Taylor, but the pattern hadn't clicked off as we wanted it to. So he was a little slower late, and then he kind of stalled out on the way to the quarterback, so wasn't able to get a hit in. And he kind of threw a runaway over that got by DeRickey and got to our post player. I believe on that sequence too, we had him off schedule again, and maybe then the late hit on the quarterback that extended down. Whatever the case, they all run together to me, Billy. But there were some third down issues that we can clean up. And then the drive. If I'm going to isolate one drive and say this is the one that to me I want back, right? I mean, a good offense is going to get their plays. A good offense is going to score points. So, we certainly can improve our execution and get closer to the game that we want to play, that kind of ideal performance. But the drive where, we have a 3rd and 10, I think, or we're right on the cusp of field goal range, and we drop a curl route on the 3rd down. So then we pin punt them, and we have them the pin punt looked like it was a pass from our punter to our gunner, which was beautiful. We have them on the -3, and right off the bat, we're in a zone pressure, and they run the tight end to the flat, and that should be a pitch catch tackle. I mean, that should be 2nd and 8, and we're late playing it, and we chase it down and kind of let them out of the pressure of a backed up situation. That drive gives way to a 3rd down again. It was 3rd and 10, where we were in a cover 2 call, and they ran a little fake screen with 3 vertical routes, and our half field safety just bit down. We have to play with discipline in that moment, and ball goes up and over our heads, and it's an explosive touchdown. That's the one series to me that, particularly because to be a complimentary team, we want to keep them pinned down, and then just don't give up explosive touchdowns. It seemed like some of their, when we let them off the hook, their big plays came in flurries, and so there was another feeling there where it's like at times when we got on our heels, they were able to keep us on our heels, but. That one series is the one that I want back. Other than that, I think we played represented ourselves decently for the first game. We can clean up certainly in the execution.
So Clark, last thing, your dad is well known in this city. There are a lot of people that know Clark Lee Sr. He was the first thought I had when I got in the car an hour after it was over was, man, I would have loved to have been with him. So how much fun did he have?
Well, he was in my office. So we after the game, my parents came down, my wife and kids, and we sat in here and kind of hung out, for probably a couple hours afterwards, just going back through the game and talking big picture stuff. Bart was in here, Benny, Molly. And we tend to do that, but it was fun to have them with us. And obviously, he was getting phone calls, and listen, this isn't a statement about getting old, because we're all getting old, but there are silencers on your phones that can just make them buzz. Well, his is still on the ringer, and the ringer is the loudest. It's like an alarm going off. And so, I wanted him to shut the ringer off, and he was getting called from people, and then they would text him, and everyone wanted to rehash the game with him. So he's kind of the official spokesperson, I guess.
That's
he was
hilarious.
He was a popular guy on Saturday night, I think.
He should have been. Hey,
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to come on with us.
Of course, always good to be with you guys. I appreciate y'all.
Vanderbilt football coach Clark Lee joining us here on the show. I'm happy for Clark. I may be even more happy for his dad, who I've known going way back. We'll go to the break and then wrap up all our witty repartee. You're listening to the George Plaster Show on 95.9 FM.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank and Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank and Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
We are back. Kelly, I need sort of fairly quick answers in what will be a short segment.
All right.
You know as well as I do, Clark brought up a particular play where a wide receiver drops a ball that would have converted a first down fairly late in the game and made things a little easier. They miss a field goal, at the end of regulation. And you know as well as I do, because sitting in that press box, I had the same thoughts. Oh, crap. Same old Vandy. Here we go again. How valuable is it in their locker room that they had to deal with knowing that a crowd was going, oh, crap, here we go again. And yet, for one of the few times in recent memory, they overcame it.
George, that becomes a habit. Just like winning becomes a habit, losing becomes a habit. I can remember being on teams where we would be leading and then just one play happened. And you're like, oh my gosh, here we go again. And then that's kind of how the sideline felt. You've got to overcome that at some point, and you got to have a belief system. And Alabama, when Nick Saban was there, and the Alabama was steep. they don't care how bad they're down. They believe they're going to win. That's a belief.
They showed it at the end of last season, the way they rallied.
Absolutely, because people thought they were done after the South Florida game, and they have a belief about winning. I don't care how it's going to happen, and I don't care who makes the play, but somebody's going to make a play to help us get over the top and win this thing. And I believe that's what he's got in that young quarter. When that court, well, he's not young, but he's young to me and you. But I think that's what they got. That's why I asked him that question, because belief is a huge thing, especially in kids and in teammates. And when you got a guy like that, when he just brought up the example about being, there was a defensive guy that said, we're in any game with this guy. And that's a belief. And if you believe that, man, it's amazing what you can do, because that creates confidence. And if you got confidence that it doesn't matter what happens, we're still going to win the game, that's huge for Clark Lee and his staff and his team.
And something I noticed, George, watching them last year, there were certain players that looked totally different against Virginia Tech. Quincy Skinner at receiver, Cedric Alexander looked better. These guys have gotten better under Pavia within this offense. The offensive linemen have gotten better. They've got new coaches. But Pavia, what he also does, Kelly, and I think you've touched on this, if you're the receiver, a tight end, a lineman, you don't want to be the guy that affects it for him. You don't want to be the guy that, man, I screwed this up for Pavia. We've got a hell of a quarterback, and I don't want to let him down. I felt that Saturday, that there were players that have upped their game and know they have to, because they don't want to have that feeling of dread and the mistake and be the one to make that mistake. And he puts pressure on guys, to perform, like a Tom Brady. Like the great quarterbacks, that's what they do. They affect all 10 other guys, and Pavia does that. It's an innate way, and it's so out of the ordinary, George. When is the last time a Vanderbilt quarterback totally affected an entire offense the way I've heard some comparisons to Eric Jones in 1988, the guy that
I think it's more Whit Taylor.
Whit Taylor as well. I mean, it's been a long time coming for a type of player like this at Vanderbilt.
I asked Watson Brown yesterday in a phone conversation, and he threw Whit Taylor out there. And, maybe I'm the only person that remembers Whit and I were in school together, and he just appeared to be a born leader in those kind of things. So, Kelly, how much carryover will there be?
Oh, I mean, I think this is real. This is not phony. I mean, he talked about it. I think those guys have a belief in him. I don't know how many big wins it's going to get them, but I think those guys have a belief. And if he can nurture that, and he can get this thing. It's funny. I was just going to say this to you guys. There's nothing but winning that Pavia does. I mean, he's 5'10", guys. Like he's not a projectable in the major league draft.
He's not a five-star.
Yeah, he's not a 5-star. He's 5'10", and he can win games. It doesn't matter. My Coach Donnelly quote, it doesn't matter. They come in all shapes and sizes. You got to go out and find them. And Vanderbilt has a guy that doesn't look the part, but is the part, and he's going to win games for the Vanderbilt Commodores. That's all y'all want.
I mean, it's just what the doctor ordered. I can't think of it.
It is that.
And just at the right time, too, because I don't know that there's another player you could have brought in with it that made this kind of impact. Obviously,
no,
one of the better quarterbacks, but I think he just fits perfectly. Maybe there's a more talented quarterback out there, but Pavia fits it just what you needed.
Real quick answer, Kelly. I'm not. If you noticed in the interview, Alcorn State never came up. We're all going to assume for the moment, and this is dangerous, that one will work out as a W. Does this carry over when you get the big boys, the SEC?
Yes, it does. Like I said, it's not phony, George. I really think it does. I think he's going to have I don't know if they'll win all those games. We know they won't, but they're going to be competitive. And when you're competitive and your guys believe in you, man, they're going to give their all for you. Just like Billy said, they're scared to let him down because He's one of these guys that can extend plays, and you're never out of a play with him. And you've got to keep working as a wide receiver. You don't get it, you got to keep working, man. You got to work back to him because you never know what he's sly and he understands the game. He's going to get away from stuff. He's going to extend plays, and you don't want to let that guy down.
I don't want to be the first SEC. I don't want to be the first SEC team to play Vandy. I'll say that. I mean, Missouri, I know it's at Missouri. Missouri's a really good team. You saw them, Kelly. But, Missouri's sitting there saying, uh-oh, we got to play Pavia. That's not a fun feeling.
After the break, more money to be made, Kelly. It's just simply a commitment to excellence. The Plaster Bet of the Day, which is going to probably win, is coming up after the break. You're listening to The George Plaster Show.
All right, final segment. Let's take a look back at what happened last night with George's Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bark Durham Injury Law, as we get this pulled up. And the Mets got a win. So George starts out the week 1-0 with Bet of the Day and 1-0 with Stat of the Day. Well, I guess 1-1. 2-0, I guess. I'll give you that.
No, you're not giving us anything. We've earned it.
Yeah, exactly, Billy. You're not giving us nothing.
So, Kelly.
Yes, sir.
Take a guess where I'm going tonight.
I'm going to say, is it your beloved Braves?
Billy?
Well, I already know. The Mets.
Oh, again. You're going with them again, huh?
Yeah, the Mets are on a roll right now, and there's some real pressure on the Braves because here's what's going on. The Mets have handled the Red Sox beautifully so far, 2 in a row. Now, admittedly, the pitching matchup tonight favors the Mets. Favors the Red Sox, who go with Tanner Houck. They got the better pitcher. But there's something about the Mets right now that over the next, until the end of the week,
they're hot.
Bet on the Mets. Home against the Red Sox, home against the Cincinnati Reds. It is putting a real pressure on the Braves, who have Colorado for 2 more, and then a 3-game homestand against Toronto. If the Braves can get through this week, still right there, they've got a half-game lead. If they can get through the week, I like their chances because the schedule starts to favor the Braves over the Mets. And the 2 teams play 1 more series this year, and thank God it's in Atlanta. So
right.
there's my little whatever. By the way, last night out at First Horizon Park, Ian Anderson pitched. Mixed results. I thought his velocity was good. He gave up a ball that looked like it was a charter flight because it's still going. But guys, Ian Anderson is likely going to have to play a big role next year, especially if they lose Max Fried to free agency.
Okay.
That's
You're
good
up
news.
on it, George. You're ready.
Oh, I'm ready. Kelly, here's the thing, and I've been saying this a lot, and I'll say it one more time. No, this is probably not a year the Braves are going to win a world title. The fact that they're even in the discussion simply says some great stuff about Brian Snitker. But mark my words on this. The nucleus of this team is going to win another world title. It's just not going to be this year.
Book it, huh? We can book it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that. But I said it a while back that they would win a world title with this young nucleus, and they pulled it off in 2021. There's another one coming. I just don't think it's this year. Tomorrow, underdog picks and Danny Evans. What more could a person want?
I know. I got to get better with these underdog picks, man. Mine sucked last week. Good gracious.
Who'd you have?
Wyoming.
Yeah. Well, that was a stupid pick.
Stupid pick. I was driving to Missouri, man. I didn't even think about it.
No excuses. See you tomorrow.
There's not any excuses. See you. Bye.
Billy?
George?
Learn about Opie.
Some more. Go watch a show. How about it?
We'll see all of you tomorrow. Till then, behave.